Picking just one leader who contributed the most to the World War II victory is a very complex and controversial issue. However, if you have to choose one of the three leaders, Winston Churchill was the most decisive contributor. The reasons for this are summarized in 5 ways. 1. To inspire the British people's will to fight the war. When France fell to Germany in 1940, Britain was in desperate danger of having to fight against Germany alone. At the time, there were voices calling for Britain's surrender, but Churchill burned the fighting spirit of the British people with strong speeches such as, "We will fight on the beach, we will fight on the airfield, we will fight in the fields and the streets, and we will fight on the hills, we will never surrender." His leadership and strong will to fight became the spiritual pillar for Britain to endure until the end without succumbing to Germany. 2. Strategic vision and diplomatic capabilities. Churchill was one of the few politicians to warn of the dangers of Nazi Germany early on. He played an outstanding diplomatic role in uniting the United States and the Soviet Union throughout the war. In particular, his strong relations with Roosevelt after the U.S. participation in the war played a key role in announcing the Atlantic Charter and coordinating the strategic direction of the Allies. If Britain had not been able to endure under Churchill's leadership, the participation of the U.S. and the Soviet Union would not have been able to lead to victory for the Allies. 3. Insight into Hitler's strategy. Churchill had a sharp grasp of Hitler's strategic intentions. He was undaunted by the German airstrikes and resisted the London bombing, inducing strategic misjudgment by the German Air Force, Luftwaffe. Winning the air battle on the British mainland was a decisive factor in Hitler's abandonment of his plan to invade Britain, which triggered a complete reversal of the tide of the war. 4. The induction of the United States and the Soviet Union into the war. Churchill desperately wanted the U.S. to participate in the war since the beginning of the war. He constantly asked Roosevelt for support, and he drew from the U.S. material assistance called the Lend-Lease Act. This was the catalyst that made the U.S. support Britain without directly participating in the war. Also, when Germany invaded the Soviet Union, Churchill contributed to the completion of the Atlantic Union, recognizing the Soviet Union as an alliance to defeat Hitler. 5. United leadership of the Allies. Roosevelt and Stalin had a strong tendency to move in accordance with their own interests and goals. But Churchill, while speaking for Britain, emphasized a united leadership for victory for the entire Allies. He constantly communicated with Roosevelt and Stalin in the Yalta and Tehran meetings, and this was an important driving force behind the eventual victory of the Allies.